So in this tutorial, we're going to build a scene where we have different triggers, and if we enter those triggers inside of virtual reality, we will be transported to another scene. So it's a basic scene switcher that we're going to build. So I'm using the previous project with the 360 video to just jump from our main scene to that 360 video. So I've set up a new scene here called main scene. It just has the camera and the directional light. So what I can do is I can right click, I can choose create a 3D object, and I want a plane, just somewhere that I can actually move around on. So now let's use one of the setups from VRTK again. So I'm going to unfold the VRTK folder, the examples, and in this case I'm going to use the 004 locomotion, so the teleporting scene. I'm just going to drag the scene into my main scene here. I'm going to take the first three elements, so the SDK manager, the scripts, and the example scene scripts, and I'm going to drag them into my main scene. Then I'm going to right click the scene itself, and I'm going to choose remove scene. Don't save. So now I have a VRTK SDK setup inside of my main scene. What I can do now is I can go in here, I can delete my scene switcher. This one just switches when you hit space or backspace between the different example scenes in VRTK. Another one is the teleporter policy list and the dash teleporter. We don't need those. So first of all, we need to be able to enter into colliders, which means that we need to have a quick script setup that is already in the VRTK package that looks for headset collisions. I'm just going to add it to the VRTK scripts here. So I'm just going to click in the add component here, going to write collision, and then I'm going to add the VRTK_headset collision. In here, you can actually click the little check mark, say ignore trigger colliders, which means now we can actually move into those triggers, which are basically just colliders. So let's set up the area, just one of these squares here, where we can walk into that trigger and be teleported to another scene. So I'll right click, I'll choose create empty. I will move this one into one of the corners, and then I'm going to add a component to it. This component is going to be a box collider. So the box collider is kind of small by itself, but I will move it into place, and I'll of course edit the collider. Just click the edit collider button and move these small green dots out and up. So to be able to identify this corner easily, so it's not just one square where I'm standing, I will also right click again and say add a 3D component or 3D object and choose cube. So I'll just move this cube over into that corner, so I know for a fact that if I go there, I should be teleported. So the game object, I will rename it to scene loader or scene switcher. And the only thing we actually need now is we need a short, very simple script so that we can teleport from one scene to another. So I'm going to add a component. I'll call it scene loader. Add it as a new script. I'm going to add the script, and I will double click the script itself so that I can open it and start editing it. So here inside of Visual Studio, we need to use not only the Unity engine, but also the Unity engine scene management. Unity engine.scene management and a semicolon. We will basically just be identifying our scenes that we want to load by a string. Inside of the class itself, we will set up a new public string. So public string, and we'll call it load level. So we don't need the void start and the void update, so we'll just delete those two. And we'll set up a new function here, or a new method here. We'll say void on trigger enter collider other. So any collider that hits this trigger collider will then trigger the scene change. And here we'll just be triggering the scene manager. And we will trigger the function called load scene. And of course, the name of the scene that should be loaded should be entered through our inspector in a second. So it's the load level. So save the file and let's jump back into Unity. So as soon as your script has compiled, you should get a load level here. What you can now do is you can identify what your scene is called. In this case, it's called 360 video or vid. So I'll choose my scene switcher and I'll just write here 360 vid like so. So one final thing to do before we can actually jump into VR and get teleported to another scene is we need to first check the collider as a trigger. Then we also need to add the other scene to our build list. So if we go to file and we go to build settings. So inside of the build settings here, we will click add open scenes because that's our main scene, of course. We'll also take the 360 video and we'll drag it into the build settings. We don't need to click build or build and run or anything like that. We can just close this back up. And now if we click play and jump into VR mode. So here I am in VR. I can look around. I can teleport to different positions. I can also teleport to the trigger and get teleported to the video of the guy boxing. So this is how you set up a very simple scene switcher inside of Unity. Thank you for watching.